Well, howdy, friends, and welcome to the Roundup Podcast. I am your host, Mitch Tidwell, and I have with me today my co-host, Kylie Badgley. Kylie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing really well. Doing well. Hey, today on the show we have with us Nathaniel Kuhns, who is our student associate, Southern Baptist of Texas Convention, and we're going to talk about a student pastor's perspective when it comes to an outgoing senior becoming an incoming freshman and how college ministers can connect with those students. Does that sound clear enough? Did I make that complicated?
You nailed it. Perfect.
Nailed it. All right, so like a student pastor's perspective, like if you could just wave a magic wand and say, you know what, I wish college ministers would do this to connect with my students that are coming out of church, coming out of college, investigating a new church, all those kind of things. So Nathaniel, welcome.
Hey, I am glad to be here, and thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. So Nathaniel, tell us, just so we can get you some street cred here before we start, tell us a little bit about yourself, your ministry experience, and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in student ministry for about 10 years. I have, some would say, worked my way up from the bottom, being an intern for way more years than I would like to admit, but just kind of being around the church of just see a need and just fill that spot and made myself unreplaceable. Yeah. But with that, I've also, 10 years of student ministry from intern to multi-site churches to small East Texas churches to larger urban, all over the place in student ministry. So I love students. My wife and I have been married for 4 years. And so she's been on that journey with me, just being able to be a great support, and also just kind of the highs and lows that come along with that. So, I love students. I love to talk student ministry, and especially this transitional piece of from college or from high school to college. Yeah. We all know the statistics. It doesn't look good for students leaving high school going into college. So the best thing that we can do is pair up together and have this conversation, though it may be a little tough at times and could get a little awkward. But we put ourselves to the side for the students.
Oh, that's good. Hey, but you never mentioned Winston in that whole
That's
thing.
True. I do. Oh, man.
Is he a Shih Tzu?
He is. He's 8.5 pounds of pure terror. He likes tortillas and popcorn at 9 o'clock at night.
Awesome.
He's a diva.
Great. Awesome. And thanks for introducing Winston.
Yeah. So, okay, tell us how have you prepared students for college in the past?
Yeah, I would like to say I've done it perfectly and I could write a book on it. But really, this is uncharted territory that we all have walked through, but yet it's that tough transitional time of how do we approach this topic. So really for preparing students for college is you have to get into the mindset of where you were your senior year.
Yeah.
Far too often we look back at the seniors and like, why don't they have these decisions figured out? Why don't they know all this stuff? But it's in those moments where you realize I had no idea what I was doing going into college.
And there's a lot of pressure on students today to just get it all figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even in middle school, I had a conversation last year with the 6th grader that said, I'm not going to graduate top 10%. And I said, what do you mean? And then she just broke it down. Like,
wow.
I'm not going to take this class. And I was like, wow. And when I was in 6th grade, I was still wearing wind pants. So I was not worried and forward thinking about college.
Yeah, but you look bad at the bone though, man.
Dude, that chili bowl.
What are wind pants? Like the swishy ones?
Yeah, the swishy ones. And I tuck in my shirt too. It was bad.
Yeah. Chili bowl and wind pants. That was 90s, man.
It was a look, man. I was rocking it, and well, I thought I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, preparing students for college, there's so much stress and anxiety that comes along with it. That the best thing that we could do, the best thing that I did, was just be a lot more intentional with those seniors and having those conversations because they know about student loans. They know about budgets. They're so forward thinking now that they cause so much stress and anxiety and they put it on their own shoulders that they don't share it with anybody else because they're afraid that they're going to look down or they're going to make mistakes already before they've even walked out of the doors of high school. Yeah. And so really being intentional that senior year, restructuring your whole ministry plan for seniors, let that be completely different for them than the rest of your student ministry. To give them an outlet to treat them a little bit more like adults, give them more responsibility in the ministry. And with that, be intentional with bringing in and having people speak into them. If there's someone in your church that's a banker, have them come talk finances. There's all these different ways and ideas of just trying to figure out what did I not know in that moment that I wish I would have known before I left those doors of the student ministry. So it's a whole mind shift of how you do it, especially with this generation now. They're already thinking 30 years down the road. And so help them pull back and be like, okay, it's okay to not have all your answers, but let's walk on this journey together.
What are some of the things that, like as far as you have a student that's going to leave town, what are some ways? Let's think about this in two ways. One, if you have a student that say they're leaving town to go to a college out of town, leaving mom and dad, all that. Then you have the student that's not leaving town. They're going to go to a local community college, so they're still going to be involved in the church. How do you handle those two different students? What do you tend to do with the one that's going out of town versus the one that's just going to stay?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the student that's going out of town, my primary role that I viewed myself as their student pastor in those, especially those last couple months, is how am I going to get them connected to churches or ministries where they're going. So it's a twofold approach. For students that are staying close, it's going to be, hey, what can I do? What does our church have for these college students? And that's an easier, I say easier because they're right down the hallway from you, conversation to have. But takes a lot more of intentionality on the student pastor's part for their students that are leaving, because those students won't still be around on Sunday morning. You have to be thinking that they're going to be gone and out of contact. Yes, we have social media. Yes, we have phones and all of that stuff. But really, you want to find a place for them to find their home in that city. You don't want them. And I always tell students, don't come home before Thanksgiving. Just don't do it, because you're not going to build those relationships. And so for the students that are leaving, on my part, it was find those ministries that are thriving, that not just numerically, but really building disciples and challenging students in their walk. And then also for churches that are doing the exact same thing, of that, where are churches that are letting college students serve to really put into practice what they believe. And so that's for the students that are leaving. For the students that are staying home, I went to a community college. Shout out to TVCC, Trinity Valley in Athens, the Cardinals. That was a good 2 years of transitional life. A lot of those students that do TVCC are going to be students like me that I was not ready to go to a four-year university. And it was drastically cheaper for me, and I was paying for myself. And so there's a little bit of a shift on even the mindset of those students that stay, because in their minds, they see everyone else going off to college, and they feel like, man, I'm almost a little bit of a failure. I'm staying home. I'm still going to live with my parents for a couple years. I had that. I saw my friends go to UT Austin, go to Harvard. I'm like, that's not me. And so with that, man, it was honestly in that moment that a local student pastor, because my church, I grew up in a small East Texas town. There was not a college ministry. It was student ministry and then young adult, aka 30 and married, and have 5 kids at that point. And so for me, it was one student pastor that took me under his wing and just let me, after school, I would just go up there. They paid me in Taco Bell, legitimately. They'd pay for my lunch, so I would show up and whatever they needed help with. And so for the students that are staying, man, empower them to see themselves as adults. Because their mindset is, I'm still in my hometown. Even if they don't live with their parents, they're right around the corner. And so challenge them in the same ways that you challenge the students going off of, hey, find your friend group. You have your friends that went off, but find your community where you are. Instead of just trying to live through the lens of your friends that are far away. And so, man, if you're in a town that you've got a community college, man, find those students, because they are they are on the inside dying to try to find their place. And it's so much harder when you're home rather than being able to recreate yourself in a different city.
Yeah, that's good. So what would you tell the college pastor who, because usually if you're in a town where, well, it's not always the case, so let me back it up a little bit. What would you say if you're leading the college ministry? It's probably a college and career type of ministry. What are some of the things that they can begin to do while that student is a senior to help bridge that gap and make that connection?
Yeah, absolutely. From a student pastor to a college pastor, go talk to that student pastor. They have just walked the last 6 to 7 years with this individual student. They know them better than a good amount of people, and also leverage that relationship that you have with the student pastor. Now, also at the same point, it's not going to be an easy conversation to have because that's sentimentally, they're still attached to that senior and this is their last year with them. But as you have these conversations, let them know that for the betterment of that student, how can you get to know and partner with them and introduce them, so the college pastor, into the lives of the seniors quicker? Because I know I've been a part of a church to where the college pastor at the end of May was coming and knocking. It's too late at that point. Because if you're banking on the summer, in the eyes of the seniors, their summer is their last 2 months with their friends before everything changes. So if you can start to get involved and even get some of your college leaders, so your older college students, involved in that student ministry, especially with high school senior age, that's crucial and key, because then it's an easier transition for them to go from the student room to wherever the college meets.
Gotcha.
It's all about relationships.
Totally.
And students are going to stay where they feel most comfortable. And so, and we've all seen it, a lot of these students, their summer and even first year of their freshman year, they keep trying to sneak back into the student ministry. No, cut that off and say you're going to the college ministry. You can volunteer when you're a sophomore and up. But they're coming because that's their place. That's their home. That's their family. So the quicker you can be introduced in small little pockets, not all of a sudden August of their senior year, you walk in and be like, hey, I'm your new pastor now. And it's like, hold on, what? But just be intentional with reaching out to those college students, or those seniors before they get to May or even April, because their mind is just on graduation parties, summer trips, and then all of a sudden college is there.
Totally. Real quick, I was in a ministry several years ago that I was kind of in this kind of college young adult role, and I don't want to, I'm not saying this is the church's fault, it's just is what it is. I mean, the youth ministry was in a $1 million+ building, and the college ministry was in like just an old Sunday school room in the corner. So just think about that transition. That's a big, I went from this big, all this stuff, just nice facility, and now I'm sitting in this little room, and it's kind of weird. Like, this is kind of and so having that bridge of that person and that relationship is key as you do that.
Yeah. So what does it look like if, like, I'm a college pastor on campus? From your perspective, what's the best way to connect with student pastors and connect with incoming freshmen?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say be a presence. Not only because the student pastors, if they've done their part well, and so student pastors, if you're listening, step up. You got this. I believe in you. If they've done their research to see, okay, here's a couple churches in this area that are doing well, hopefully they've already reached out to you. And saying, hey, I have 3 students that are coming to college this semester at, we'll say, A&M. And so I would say, okay, here's a couple churches to check out. I'm going to call that college pastor and say, hey, would you mind meeting with them for a coffee? I'll pay for it out of my student budget for you to start that conversation. But from the perspective of a college pastor, it's a little hard because you don't know who's coming to your school. And so really those first couple weeks when everyone's kind of bombarded with everything on the campus, there's booths everywhere, there's free things everywhere. The best thing is to be a presence, but then also know the incoming freshman class. of what that specific class has walked through. So perfect example right now, 2020, COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Students have been isolated for months. They're going to walk onto a college campus of 20,000 people. They've only seen 5 people in the last 5 months. So think about that in perspective of this could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
So how can we kind of make that large campus smaller? And so be intentional. And once you get to know a few students in those, at your booth, get their information, make sure to figure out what church they went to in their student ministry. What's their home church? And then you as a college pastor, give that student pastor a call and say, hey, what do you know about this student? They've come a couple times. I want to be able to get them in a small group that works, or get them paired with some older college students that, have some same personalities. Use those student pastors. There would be nothing more. It's not going to be weird, I promise. You probably feel like that's weird. If I got their home church and I went to their website, I found the student pastor's name, I'm calling his office. No, do it. There's nothing being, as a student pastor, if I knew that a college pastor was taking those steps, or someone in their college ministry is taking those steps to get to know my student, because college pastors, the student pastors are still connected with these students all through college. And so they're still viewed in the eyes of that college freshman as a spiritual leader and influencer in their life. So if I get a call from someone saying, hey, I've met Garrett at this thing, what do you know about him? I'd love to connect with him a little bit more. When I'm talking to Garrett, I'm going to naturally push him that direction of, hey, I had this conversation with this guy. He seems super awesome. You should try it. Go have coffee. Send me the receipt, or here's a gift card. And so don't feel like it's weird. Don't feel like it's creepy or anything along those lines. It's the more that you can do on that front end to get those students and to build relations and common grounds with them. That's the key to keeping them in those first 3 months. They need to be locked in, know where they're going to go. Yeah. Or statistically, they're not going to go anymore.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any times or any phone calls with students that were in college that they were talking about their church or their college pastor, and you were like impressed or like, oh, that's really cool?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm at the convention now, but just 3 months ago, I was at a church down in Houston. But even still now, I still have those contacts in my phone. I'm calling and talking to students. And those first couple weeks of when they move onto campus, I call them at least once a week just to check in, see what's going on. And with that, there's always conversations of them saying, hey, and what's cool about it is what draws students to different churches or organizations. It's a strong college student presence that's leading the way. It's here are college students that are juniors and seniors. They're invested in this ministry. They're invested in this church, and they're the ones that are reaching out to me. And so college pastors, man, take full advantage of those leaders in your group and have them be the one. The same way students in high school expect the student pastor to say, hey, come to this event or come with me to this Bible study. We've got this one thing going on, whatever it may be. They expect it from me, and they'll expect it from you, college pastors. But whenever one of my student leadership kids invited them, it's a whole different ballpark. Mm-hmm. The percentage of new students showing up and being actually coming back, it's because they're invested. And so a lot of the common grounds, because I've been looking for that, of what are all of these college freshmen saying? And it's I met so-and-so. Mm-hmm. Even if it is the college pastor, if you don't have a strong student leadership core, this isn't a knock against you. You be that spot. Mm-hmm. But if you have college leaders, man, rely on them, lean on them, because everything it's not about the lights, the glam, as Mitch said earlier. It's not the $1 million building, the good. Food's important. Let's just be honest. Food and coffee, you got them for at least 1 to 2 meetings. But then from there, it's all about the relationships. It's that intentionality of making them, when they come to your booth or when they come to your church, they're not just a number. They're actually, you want to get to know them. And so take notes on the back of their card, whatever information card they say, take notes on the back of it so you can remember, oh, they played basketball in high school, or they're from this city and did this. Just learn as much as you can about them without being creepy, because then there's like the weird, like, what's your favorite color? You like ice cream? I do too. So just balance. Just balance is crucial.
Yeah. Hey, if you are let's say there's a college pastor who wants to reach out to churches to connect with their outgoing seniors, incoming freshmen, what is it, because I think for a lot of guys, they would think, well, that's kind of intimidating to make that call or try to connect with that church. But what would that look like? I guess what would you be impressed with, or what would be an encouragement to you if you had a college pastor call? What questions should he ask? What are some things that you're looking to hear in order for you to feel safe about connecting your students to that leader in that church?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, don't start out by saying, hey, how many seniors do you have? That just sounds weird. I know that it should be understood not to, or hey, can I get a connect with your seniors? Can I come and teach their small group?
Yeah.
Like, don't start at that route.
Yeah.
Start at, hey, get to know the student pastor. Build that relationship. If I don't have a relationship with somebody, even if they have the best sales pitch, even if online they've got the best website, Instagram, or if you're on TikTok, whatever it is, if you've got all that in line, but yet you're not looking to get to know me, to know the heart of the students, I'm out. Yeah. I'm not gonna, I'll probably say, yeah, let me think about it. Yeah. I ain't calling you back. But it's all about building that relationship. And so student pastors know that if you're a college pastor and you're calling them, asking about seniors, they're going to know, okay, they automatically know that the little light has gone off in their mind that, okay, he wants to start a partnership. Yeah. And do that. Call it a partnership, not and just say, hey, I would love to partner with you and helping your seniors that come to this campus get involved. And what's even better is say the lines of, if it's not my ministry, I still want to help them get involved somewhere. Because then it doesn't feel like I promote this one ministry and then all of a sudden it may not be their fit. Yeah. But other college ministries in the area that could possibly be a fit for them. Yeah. And so having that bigger kingdom mindset about the students instead of them just being someone to build your little mini kingdom in your program. And so, get to know the student pastor and share that vision of, hey, I genuinely want your student to get involved somewhere. If it's my place, great. If not, let me help be a resource to get them plugged in somewhere. Yeah,
that's good. A lot of this, we're in the middle of COVID-19 and all this whole crisis. And so things are looking a little bit different these days. And so I think reaching incoming freshmen is going to look a lot different this fall than it ever has. So what are maybe some of the ways that as you've been looking at churches that they've been able to connect with students and maybe helpful for a college minister as they're thinking about digitally connecting with students this fall?
Yeah, that was embarrassing. That's a great idea. Yeah. But no, I think being wise with your social media. Yeah. And that's honestly, being intentional with hashtags. People think that they're something of the past. But if you look at there's always an incoming freshman hashtag, especially when they get their letter and they're all excited and they're like taking a picture of their acceptance letter. That's going to be like TAMU class of something or hook 'em forever Longhorns. Thanks. Sorry, Kylie, I just had to. But with that, and start to, throw that hashtag into your post, because they're going to click on that hashtag, and though we don't see hashtags as much anymore, man, they're going to scroll through to see who else is going to be at that university. Try to build some relationships, and so be a presence. Find a way to be a presence without being pesky. Because we all know there's a fine balance between a present, okay, I know of this church, I know this, but then the pesky church that's just always constantly calling and texting and DMing and like, don't be that church. Don't be that college pastor. Be the one that's intentional, and the students they'll just naturally see that. And so the big one, use hashtags, figure out what colleges are doing and mimic that for your ministry.
Yeah.
They've got a whole lot more staff that are smarter than all of us.
To connect with students.
Connecting with students. So piggyback off that.
Yeah, no kidding. No, that's really good advice. Well, good deal. Well, Nathaniel, is there anything else that maybe we haven't covered that you think would be super helpful for college pastors as we're thinking about incoming freshmen?
Really, the last thing I would say, and it's really to anyone, student ministry, but specifically here, college pastor, of be yourself.
Yeah.
Nowadays, more than ever, students desire a place that they can be involved, to be welcomed, and that you are you. If you have strange quirks, if you have terrible dad jokes, own it. Don't be the weird, try to force and be something that you're not. Because it's in those moments that students see right through you and they're out. They're looking to invest. There'll be some of them for 4 years. Community college, maybe they're a semester and then transfer out. But just wherever you are, whatever context that you have, just be intentional. Find your market, and just own it. And then don't worry about the numerical growth. Once you do that, you've lost, because you're trying to be something that you're not. And so, man, that's it. Just be yourself. Lean into what God has gifted you and your talents and abilities and the things that are your weaknesses. Find people that's their strength and bring them around you. And from that, man, God's going to do some cool things through you guys.
That's great, man. Yeah, I always say that authenticity does not mean cool. It just means being real.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm cool.
Yeah, just like be yourself and just like be their friend. Because I think sometimes when I was in college, I was like, I feel like you're just doing this because it's your job. Like, I didn't feel like actually cared about. Like, I don't know. They would just push their stuff. And then I was like, do you even care? Like, is this just your job? So,
yeah, that's very true. Very true. Well, Nathaniel, thanks for being on with us today, man. Really appreciate it. I think this was some very helpful stuff and thinking from a student pastor's perspective how to connect with incoming freshmen. So
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, we obviously none of us have this figured out in light of COVID-19 in 2020, but I think there's definitely some principles here to think about and wrestle on. So thanks, dude.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks for joining us on the Roundup podcast. Feel free. We would love if you would subscribe to the podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, and multiple other platforms. Subscribe, like, if you would, please write a review. We'd love to get a review on there. And follow us on social media at SBTC Collegiate. And if you're not involved in our Facebook group, join our Facebook group. We have over 200 collegiate leaders from around the state of Texas that are in this. It's a way to idea share, collaborate. It's called Roundup Network. Just search it, ask to join, and we'll get you in there. Guys, appreciate your time. We'll see you next time.